Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassidy Carson and this is the life of a writer. Yesterday I posted a video about my typewriter, which surprisingly got a lot more views than I expected, so thank you. I also got several comments, and I didn't realize that typewriter might be so exciting to some people. And I do have a lot of other things around the house that I can talk about that are not very well known maybe to modern audiences, including a clock that dates back to the 1840s. And there is a history in the clock, but I can talk about more things like that going forward on this channel this year. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the in-between times. I did a Substack post today. I try to post on Substack on Thursdays. Fell out of my habit of doing that toward the end of the year last year because things got a bit busy, but I'm going to try to get back to that. I think I've done both Thursdays this year so far. And we are pretty much in the middle of January right now. The Christmas season is behind us, and even though my house is still decorated for Christmas, that will be coming down very soon, which is a bummer. But as I was telling my husband, if we leave it up all year, then we don't appreciate it as much. And we miss the joy of rediscovering the ornaments and putting them out again. So even though it's not one of my favorite tasks, I will be putting away Christmas, and then the house will feel a little bit colder and emptier because I have a lot of Christmas. But that in-between time after the holidays going into, we do have things like Valentine's Day coming up. Some people don't celebrate that much. And we have spring in a couple of months, probably about 2.5 months or so. And, we do have more things to look forward to, but we're in one of those in-between times where things can be a little bit dark and cold here in the Northern Hemisphere. And we may hunker down and hopefully do a lot of reading. I know I have been curling up with some good books and maybe watching some favorite TV shows or trying some new shows. And it can be very mundane, not a lot of memorable things happening. And it occurred to me that I don't remember a lot about this time of year. The January-February time frame is usually kind of a blank space in my memories, even going back to childhood, because once the holidays were over and we went back to school, there was nothing really exciting to remember. As an adult, I did have a couple of memorable January to March time periods, because that's when I had 2 of my kids. One was born in January, the other in March. So obviously those were big occasions that stuck out in my mind. But aside from the days they were born, I don't have a lot of memories of what happened around them. All the little day-to-day tasks of taking care of my kids, or the day-to-day tasks back when I was a kid of going to school. And these days, now that I'm in my 60s, that happens a lot more often throughout the course of the year because there are not a lot of big milestone events happening in our lives. And I have tried journaling, but I can't really keep up with it. I've tried it. I have so many partially written journals around my house. At some point, I'm going to get them together and kind of compile them somehow and maybe tie them together so that I have a journal that talks about different time periods, but maybe, I don't know, maybe it would turn into a memoir since I'm a writer, who knows. But journaling on the page doesn't really work for me. So one of the things I'm doing with this YouTube channel is to journal a little bit of my day-to-day life. So for example, today is January 15th, 2026. It is a Thursday. It is cold here in Northern Nevada. You can see it's sunny outside. It's pretty. It is right now about 2:30 in the afternoon. So this morning, JT and I got up and had our normal breakfast in the kitchen. We have 3 places in the house where we can eat. We have our kitchen table, our dining room table, and then we have a table out here in the sunroom where we can eat when the weather is warm. So today, since it was very cold, we ate at our kitchen table. We had leftovers I did not cook a fresh breakfast. We did both have coffee. You know, these little things, these little details are not things I remember in the normal course of a day. And then after breakfast, we went out and we both got haircuts. So if you notice, my hair is a little different than it was yesterday. I did get a haircut. And then we went out to lunch. We went to the Carson Nugget, and we had, he had his eggs and bacon, and I had my half a sandwich and soup. Again, nothing really exciting. And I can look back at this video now, next year maybe, or sometime in the future, and say, oh, that's what we did that day. So the little mundane details of life are really hard to remember, and that's why I'm trying to document some of them through these videos. I'm also talking about my writing journey, so I am getting back to my work in progress. I have not been successful in getting back to it yet. Today's the third day I haven't touched it yet. I need to do some smoothing of the work in progress so that I can get it off to my beta readers. And I want to get it into the editing queue very soon in time to make an April release. So I often talk about starting a new project because that's exciting. And I'll talk about finishing a draft because that's exciting. But the in-between times of the process, oh, I need to go back and smooth it out, edit, do some proofreading, those kinds of things, I don't remember. So as of this point, I did finish a draft a few days ago and haven't gotten back to it. I will be getting back to it this afternoon, this evening. I plan to sit in my recliner with my MacBook, open to Google Docs. I will open my manuscript and I will start doing some smoothing. I have done some rewriting of chapter 2 in my mind, so I need to go back and actually do that on the page, because I feel that there are some things I need to fix, some plot holes. I need to actually start with some lower stakes and start amping them up throughout the course of the book. So I have plans to do that. I just need to sit down and do the actual work, which that's always the case with a writer. There's always something to be done. So that's what's been going on through the course of the day. I did my Substack post that I mentioned and that I've talked about, dealing with the in-between times. Today is definitely an in-between time in many ways, because it's in between holidays and family get-togethers. It's in between my writing projects. It's in between a lot of major life events, because while I am going to be celebrating one of my kids' birthdays this coming weekend, and it is a milestone birthday, I don't foresee us doing anything incredibly memorable for the birthday, because I don't think my kid is in that place right now. So it will probably just be a quiet day of hanging out. And even though it is a milestone birthday, it will probably turn into a bit of a mundane day. Unlike a couple of years ago when my oldest and I celebrated joint milestone birthdays, because it was my 60th and her 40th. And we took a trip to Vegas to see Magic Mike, which was my daughter's birthday gift to me. It was not something I had intended to do, but we had a lot of fun. And even though Magic Mike may not have been my cup of tea, especially not the VIP meet and greet, here you go. Here is a photo of the VIP meet and greet and how awkward I looked. Oh my gosh, what an experience. But it was a memorable one. So we did a lot of fun things in Las Vegas, like ride the gondola at the Venetian, and we went to Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. It's always fun to go in there and kind of hang out with the celebrity wax figures. And we had a VIP dinner before we went to see the Magic Mike show. We rode the monorail, went down to the MGM and the Coca-Cola store. So we did a little bit of exploring while we were there. We stayed at the Sahara Las Vegas. So you can see that I have a lot of memories of that particular period. It was 2 or 3 days, I think, we were in Las Vegas. And I have a lot of memories of what we did during that time period. Whereas for most of my other birthdays, who remembers what I did? Because most of them were very low-key. As a kid growing up, I didn't tend to celebrate my birthdays on my own because my birthday fell in the same 2-day time period as my aunt and uncle's birthdays. So the three of us would share a birthday celebration. And I didn't really have a lot of birthday parties of my own. So throughout the course of my life, I don't tend to really feel like having a birthday celebration of my own. But those, like I said, tend to become just part of the mundane day-to-day life that I don't remember. So having a big milestone celebration like my daughter and I did a couple of years ago was fun, even though I was feeling a little awkward about it at the time. So I encourage you to take a few moments, whatever you're doing today, maybe write down what you did. What was the temperature? What time did you wake up? Did you make anything special for breakfast? Did you read a particular book? You know, just mark a few of these things down so that when you are looking back, you don't have those gaps in your memory where you have long periods of time and you just don't remember what you did, because I feel like it's sad. We need to really appreciate the day-to-day mundane parts of life. And, you know, for good or bad, we tend to remember both the good days and the bad ones, or I should say the really good days and the bad ones. If something incredibly bad happens in our life, then obviously we will remember that as well. So those in-between times when, you know, between the good and the bad, between the exciting holidays, between the different ages, just make a few notes here and there, or record a quick video. I'm hoping that someday my grandkids, who are currently preteen and teenagers, and they could really care less about what I'm doing, but I hope someday maybe they'll look back at this and go, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know Grandma did that. I kind of wish I had more of that kind of thing about my grandparents. I would love to know more about the little, more mundane parts of their lives. And as someone who loves history, I know it's always very exciting to find information about the normal people going about their day-to-day activities, because history also records the big milestones and the people who are well known and well documented, and the rest of us are kind of just footnotes, if that. So I encourage you to enjoy the in-between times. Take a few minutes out of your day, make a note. It doesn't have to be anything really exciting. Like I said, just, was it snowing? Was it sunny? Did you go out? Did you decide to spend the entire day in bed reading? You know, those kinds of things could be fun to remember in the future, and they may be fun for someone else to come across sometime, whether they find your journal or through some other medium. So I thank you for joining me, and I do have some fun plans for videos coming up. As I mentioned, I have some things around the house that would be kind of fun to talk about, and I can talk about them in such a way that they tie into writing. So we'll get going on those here very soon. Most of these videos are completely unplanned. I did not have a plan to do this one today. It really came about because I did that Substack post this morning. So again, there's another thing. I can document the fact that I wrote that Substack about the in-between times on January 15th, 2026. And this is what I was thinking about, and I was having a good day. You know, I do have a slight headache, nothing terrible, but otherwise I feel good for the most part. And I'm having a good day, had some good time with my husband, and plan to get some work done. So all in the course of a day and a life. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Take care. I'm Cassidy Carson, and this is The Life of a Writer. I'll see you next time.